everyone. Just to tell you a little bit about who I am and who I work for. Like she said, my name's Sarah Mattson, and I'm with the Small Business Development Center. If you're not familiar with Small Business Development Centers, there's over 1,000 SBDCs across the country. We're a nonprofit organization funded primarily by the Small Business Administration, and our mission is just to provide small business support to small for-profit businesses throughout the country. So we do that by providing one-on-one, no-cost counseling, and we do over 130 seminars a year. So I'm going to kind of speed through this presentation, but I'll let you know that I do a longer version of the business plan writing workshop every other month. And we have been doing those virtually, and the next one will be next week, June 16th. So if you're interested in that, we can send you information on that, I'm sure. And you can do a little bit more of the full-length workshop if you feel like that would be valuable to you. So I'm just going to dive into my presentation, and I'm going to just see if I can do this in super speed. Usually in my workshop, I allow pauses and I allow time for everyone to work through. So we'll just, of course, skip all that today. So I find with, I hope you all can see my screen. Yeah. Okay. I find that when I'm counseling a lot of clients, a lot of people don't even know really what a business plan really is, what it should include. Basically, a business plan is a formal document that allows you to put your thoughts onto paper. So a lot of times when I'm talking to clients, they're like, yeah, I've thought through all this. I know who my competition is. I know what my marketing plan is. But there's something about the practice of putting it down onto paper that's really valuable. And it kind of forces you to do more research, or what I like to say, like pull on threads, like dig deeper, turn over the rocks, find some other flaws in your plan, find what your strengths are and how you can leverage those. If you are looking for financing for a startup business, you will have to have a business plan. So one thing I always tell people is do the business plan in the beginning, even if you don't need financing, because what if you land a big contract and suddenly you need to buy a bunch of inventory and you need some emergency quick cash? That is not the time to be trying to write a business plan from scratch, because it's time consuming. So kind of like a resume is something you'd want to have in your back pocket of your business that you could just pull out and dust off whenever you need it. Some kind of rules of thumb for a business plan: you'll want to use a cover page, a table of contents, just as sleek and professional as you can make it. Really helps make it look like you did a lot of work on that. 10 to 15 pages of the written portion is really all you need. No one wants to read a 50-page business plan. Really I'll show you an example of a business plan here in just a second. So really just a short little section or blurb in each section of the business plan. You'll want to speak in third person. I don't know why, that's just like a grammar police rule throughout. So just keep that consistent. So instead of like sometimes saying, I have this idea for my business, you'll just say the owners of the business plan to, or the business plans to do, et cetera, et cetera. When you're writing, this is actually a common mistake that I see. When you're writing your business plan, assume that the reader knows nothing about your business, you, or your industry. So it's your job to educate them in very simple terms. What is a freight brokerage company? Like, that means nothing to me. Like, you're going to have to tell me how that job fits into the entire freight industry, for example. Please use visuals. So don't just write words. Any opportunity you can, include pictures. If you have a product, if you have a location scouted for your brick and mortar, include pictures of that location, include a map, any of that. So, okay. Give me just a second because I just triggered Siri. Okay, I don't know how to get rid of her. I don't know what I said. Okay, so you'll want to use bullet points, tables, charts, pictures, anything like that, just to give the reader a little bit of a break. Okay, let me show you an example of a basic business plan. And actually, this is one of my favorites. Oh, wait. And this is actually just a Microsoft Word template. Oh, wait, no. That I have lost here. Okay. Do you guys see a screen that says professional services? I'm not sure if somebody can give me a thumbs up.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Okay. Oh my God. Siri, be quiet. Okay. So this is a Microsoft Word template that I actually really, really like. And it's very short and concise. And in each section, it tells you what you should put in each section. And it's really thorough. It's really great. But really, you'll see you have your company overview. You've got your business description. You've got your market analysis, and this is where you're going to put information about your competition, your industry. You can include a SWOT analysis. Oh my gosh. I'm so sorry. My Siri keeps trying to have a conversation. Okay. And then how you're going to execute your plan for your business. And then your marketing and sales plan and how you're going to pay for it. And you'll see that that's 13 pages. So that's really all you need. So the second part of the business plan, you have all the written portion, how you're going to execute everything. The second part is a formal financial document. So typically, one of the main things will look like this. A bank will want to see projected financials by month for the first year. But usually they'll want to see 3 years total of projected financials. But the first year they will want by month. In the second and third year, you can usually just include annual projections. A lot of people get hung up on this. There's some good strategies you can use to project what your sales might be. But down here where you see all these expenses, this is where you can do a lot of research in the beginning of your business. How much will advertising actually cost? If you're planning on doing a billboard, call the billboard companies. How much does that actually cost? How much will rent be? Utilities, credit card fees is often overlooked, legal and accounting. So you're going to project out how much all of this is going to cost, and you're going to project out your revenue. And I'll kind of just go ahead and hit on that. I think to project your revenue, you will typically where I start is I kind of like to look at what's the maximum amount you could make in a day. So if you're opening a restaurant, how many tables are you going to have? And based on how quickly you turn those tables over, if you were at max capacity, how much could you actually make in a day? And then reverse engineer it. So when you first open, maybe you'll be at 25% capacity. So let's base it on that. And let's go 25% capacity and then build up to eventually always being at 75% capacity or something like that. So there's 3 financial forms that you'll include in your business plan. And one of them is a profit and loss form. Another one is a statement of cash flows, and the other one is a balance sheet. So those are actually standard accounting financial forms that bankers are used to seeing. Sometimes I get clients that'll have all their numbers in a spreadsheet, which is great, but we need to transfer that into these like standard financial pro forma, standardized profit and loss, statement of cash flows, and a balance sheet. And of course, we can help you with all that if you were to come in and get a no-cost counseling session with us. That's one of the things we do is sit through that and with you and help you work through that. So let's see. So Austin, I believe, sent out a handout, which is the worksheet that I use when I'm giving the business plan writing presentation. So there's some extra worksheets and things for you to work through if you go through that handout. Your business plan may not necessarily include a lot of the worksheets that are in there, but it's a really great exercise to have you think through. So we'll kind of go through each section together. So the first section of a business plan is called the executive summary. So usually this is 1 to 2 pages at the beginning of the business plan, and it basically summarizes the rest of your plan. So we recommend doing this part last. And someone once told me a good rule of thumb for this is to imagine that you take your business plan to a banker and he's really, really busy. He doesn't have time to read your whole plan. Someone may just read that summary and then look at your financials, and that's it. So assume that you can fit as much information you can into those 2 pages in a great concise summary, but then if they want to read more in the rest of the business plan, you can expound on some of those thoughts throughout the plan. So you do the executive summary last, and it's going to have the same thing as the rest of your plan. It's going to say company description, marketing plan, financing plan, all the same topics, just like one short paragraph in each topic. So typically a business plan will start with a mission statement. Now, sometimes you might see a little bit of differences depending on which template you're using. Sometimes the wording will be a little bit different, but the basic thing is everyone just wants to know, who are you? What's the company you're trying to start? What's your plan? So this template that I use includes a mission statement. And if anyone sat in on, I was on another call and I hate that I missed it, but Josh Davis did his story brand class, and I love referring to story brand at this part of your business plan. So when you're thinking about your mission statement, this is almost like an extended tagline for your business. And if you use the story brand process, you can really be inspired to write your mission statement so that it's very much customer driven, so that the customer is the hero, you're the guide helping them to reach this end goal that they have. So here's an example of one. Doggy Tales is a dog daycare and grooming salon specializing in convenient services for urban pet lovers. Our mission is to provide service, safety, and a family atmosphere, enabling busy dog owners to spend less time taking care of their dog's basic needs and more time having fun with their pet. So kind of using the story brand methodology, they are hitting the heartstrings of a customer. They're saying, okay, our target market is for urban pet lovers, and we want you to have fun with your pet. So they aren't even talking about all the list of services that you're doing. They're, at the end of the day, hitting your heartstrings by saying, our goal is to help you have fun with your pet, because at the end of the day, that's why you got a pet to begin with, not to take your pet to get groomed all the time. You want to have fun with your pet. So I encourage you to read the story brand in helping you craft your mission statement and all your branding for that matter. Okay, so once you have that, that's really one of the most creative pieces of the business plan you will do. The rest is just going to be very data driven and factual. So one, I feel like I'm missing a slide here. I don't think I have a slide for it, but then the next section of a business plan is going to be the company description. So in the company description, I'm going to flop over here to this. Oops. Okay. So again, this is a handout that Austin sent out to you guys. It's a little bit more worksheety. So you have your executive summary. This will normally be about 2 pages. Then we'll dive into your company description, which includes your mission statement. And then we're just going to lay out who's the principal members of your business, what's your legal structure, and then some operational just facts. Where are you going to be located? Are you working from home? Are you a freelancer? Are you getting an office? What kind of technology are you going to use? Do you have some sort of industry specific technology? Are you using QuickBooks? Are you using Square? Tell us everything that you've planned out. And if you haven't done that yet, now's the time to research that information. And any specific equipment and tools that you'll need to execute your business. Some businesses require a very certain type of printer or some certain equipment. And that's really it for company description. So that's really just basic company information. The next section is market research, and this is where you can really spend the bulk of your time, and this is always where I see people cutting corners on their plan, and it's really a disservice because I think they're actually getting they're thinking so much about their company description that they're not thinking about how they're going to strategically execute their business. You can't just throw up a website and expect people to stumble onto it and start buying your products. You have to have a plan of who are your customers, who's your competition, and how are you going to get people to your website or your storefront. So the first thing to do is to tell us about your industry. So whatever business that you're doing, is this a growing industry? Is this something that's trending in bigger cities? Is this something that's new to market? Are you a physical therapist? And tell us about just how the industry looks. So I like to use the example of, think of an industry that's died. Here we're trying to sell the reader on why this is a good industry to go into. Okay, customers. So this is by far and away where I see people really not thinking through. So I can't count how many times I've had someone say, my target customer is any adult in Chattanooga. That might be true, but you have a typical customer. Every business has a typical or ideal customer, and you need to figure out who that person is. So and the reason why you want to do that is because when you come up with a marketing plan or a sales plan, your dollars will be better spent if you can target very, very specific groups of people instead of every adult in Chattanooga. So yeah, every adult could eventually wander into your restaurant, but if we're going to put money into Instagram ads, we want that to be very effective and reach more likely customers. And on that note, when you're doing the marketing plan, you might find that your target customer's not on Instagram. They might be more on Facebook or other methods of marketing. So what I like to do is have people go through and really identify demographic information about their target customer. But another thing that you can do is think about lifestyle. So are they vegetarians? Are they outdoorsy? Do they drive Subarus? Are they the type that always has a new car every year? Like really imagine this person in your head. Where do they hang out? Where do they eat? What kind of neighborhoods do they live in? Because typically people form into tribes of people. It's as individualistic as we want to be. We usually can fit ourselves into these different types of tribes. So if you can identify what tribe you're trying to reach, your marketing plan will be a lot more effective. Now, some businesses aren't going to be reaching consumers. They're going to be B2B. So they're going to have other businesses as their clients. So if you're a graphic designer, sure, every business in Chattanooga could use your service, but who's the typical and most ideal client that you will have who's looking for your graphic design service? How big are they? What kind of industry are they in? Are they regional, local only, or could you do worldwide? what stage of their business. So do you cater more to startups or mid businesses that are in a growth phase, or do you need like mature businesses? All things to really think through. Now, one thing is you can have multiple segments. So one target customer might be moms aged 30 to 40 who drive minivans and their kids go to private school or something like that. And then you might have a secondary target market that is teenage girls aged 15 to 18 who, I'm trying to think of like a brand, who are the type that wear this certain type of brand. Like you can just think of them, who they are in your head. So you can have multiple. And the reason why you would do that is you actually would create different marketing plans for those different segments. So the moms age 30 to 40, you might do a big Instagram campaign for them. And the teenagers 15 to 18, you might do Snapchat advertising. So this is where you can really spend a lot of time. And I've hardly ever seen a client who I haven't gone back and said, you can make this more specific. Okay, so then you really want to analyze your competition. And not just like, yeah, there's other competition out there. Like call them out by name, research them. I love this worksheet, which I borrowed from SCORE. They have so many incredible resources on their website. They're a entity like us who provides counseling and resources for small businesses. But identify at least 4 of your main competition and then research them and compare their price, quality, whichever of these categories that are applicable for your business. One thing I like to recommend is combing through online reviews, which can be very telling. So when you're looking at online reviews, you can often find their weaknesses, their strengths. What are some common things that people have complained about or commended them for? So you can learn a lot. And sometimes if your business is very SEO driven, where you are depending on, if you're going to be very competitive online with other businesses, you might even just put Google review here and Facebook review and put their actual rating. To me, that's a great way that you can kind of compare competition and find their strengths and weaknesses. Okay, so that's a lot of research that can be done there. And the reason you want to do that is because then you can really figure out where you fit in. If everyone is getting complaints about customer service, maybe you can double down on customer service. So really in all these different fields and more categories than this, there's a lot of ways you could figure out how to differentiate yourself, or you can leverage your competition's weaknesses. Or if they have a really big strength that you just can't compete with, you can find a way to maybe highlight your other strengths and minimize that that's a weakness for you. So again, there's some charts and worksheets in this handout you can work through to kind of think through all of those aspects of your competition. All right, down here, this is very just black and white. Regulations, what regulations does your business have to abide by? So if you're a restaurant, if you're a food truck, you're gonna have a lot of regulations, short-term rentals. And sometimes I'll just have clients say, I'm aware that there are city and county regulations for my food truck, and I follow their, I check their website frequently to stay on top of updates or to stay aware. So just tell us, how are you, what are you don't have to list out all the regulations here, but you can just state that you are very aware of them and you know how to stay on top of those. So that's really the market research piece, okay? Then we're gonna talk all about your product. This is very black and white. Tell us about it. This is where you can put in pictures, you can put in anything to describe what your product or service is, and be very specific. So if you say, I'm going to start an electrical company, I'd be curious, are you going to serve commercial and residential? Like, how big of a job are you going to do? Be very specific about the type of service work you're going to do. If you're a photographer, you could actually list out your packages here. These are the different types. These are my wedding packages I'm going to offer. So this, again, is a great worksheet for thinking through everything you can tell us about your product or service. Pricing. You have to research this before you start. A lot of people have no clue how to set their pricing, and it takes a lot of research sometimes to figure out what your competition is charging. Of course, you don't want to be the lowest price, and you don't necessarily want to be the highest price. So you have to do that research. If you have any intellectual property rights, that may not apply to you. If it doesn't, you can just take that out or say not applicable. All right, so this is the marketing and sales plan. This is where you really have to kind of get to work. We've done all the research. We know who our competition is. We know who our target markets are. Now we have to put a plan in place for that. So how are you going to initially blast out? So a lot of people might say, I'm going to go to 3 or 4 networking events a month. So I'm going to just network. And to do that, I'm going to join the chamber, and I'm going to join this other group, or I'm going to join some online networking groups, whatever your initial strategy is. And then kind of how you're going to maintain. And there should be another section here, or this might kind of be in the growth strategy, but I always like to put somewhere in the business plan what your milestones are for your business. Okay, so this communication strategy, this is where I love to see people get very specific about how when they open up the gates, when they quit their job and you start your business, what are you going to do on day one? So please do not come to me and say, I'm going to advertise on Facebook. I might get some billboards. No, we need like a very tactical strategy of exactly what you're going to do and why. So your initiative could be a big campaign you're going to do, new clients get a free consultation. How are you going to execute that? How much is it going to cost you? And how are you going to measure it? So I love this table. Again, a lot of this was taken, kind of merged from SCORE's tools and resources that they have on their website. Not just saying I'm going to do networking, but what are your goals going to be from the networking event? How many are you going to go to? What's your strategy going to be when you go to that networking event? And how much is it going to cost you so that you can budget for it appropriately? So this is where you can be very specific, and then you're going to have to do more research. How much does it cost to go to a networking event? How much will Facebook ads cost me to run per month? And you need all of this so that you can make correct financial projections. I'll have clients come in who say, oh, I think I'm going to do like billboards. And then on their financials, they've budgeted like $50 a month for marketing. They clearly haven't done the research on how much a billboard costs. So some types of businesses will have to do a sales strategy as opposed to marketing. So marketing is about how you're going to get your brand out there, awareness to people. Sales is going to be how you land the customer. So sometimes some businesses are very much, they have to create a strategy that's like, I have to cold call 5 businesses a day, or I'm going to set up a sales meeting, whatever. There's different types of strategy. That could be a whole other class on doing sales. But you need to come up with that very specific strategy and put that in the business plan. And then that's really it. So this template doesn't have the part about, how are you going to finance it? But usually there's a part at the end where you'll say, this is how much funding I'm going to need. And I'm going to pull over to this other one real quick. I have $5,000 of savings that I'm going to use, and then I'm going to try to get a TVFCU ideally loan for the other $20,000. And so that's really kind of the whole business plan in a nutshell. I know I kind of zipped through that really fast, but I hope that that kind of gave you a really good overview of some things to do and not to do in a business plan, and just kind of generally what a business plan even looks like. There's some really great software out there. I really love that Microsoft Word template because it's super simple and it's short and it's free. But there's another one called liveplan.com, and it's a subscription base, and it makes a very nice, shiny, pretty, it puts all your financials into beautiful charts and graphs. And we have, at the SBDC, we have some access to some accounts for that software service that we could help you get set up with that. So there's a lot of different options out there, but yeah, at this time, I'll just open it up to questions, I guess. And
thank you, Sarah. That was very engaging, and I definitely liked, when you're talking about the mission statements, especially with the dog grooming business, how it has to have that emotional connection, so you have time to spend, more time with your pet. Definitely think that lots of mission statements are more effective when they have, and brand statements when they have that emotional component. So we do have a few questions so far, so I'll just go to the first one. Could you share with us some recommended resources to find accurate info on demographics to aid in that strategy?
So if you're talking about the industry specific part, yeah, there's a lot of great resources out there. So one of them that I like to use for the industry, there's a lot of kind of government or academia based websites. So I would just do a Google search for physical therapy industry or rehabilitation industry. And as long as it's from like a .gov or .edu source, you could literally just copy and paste some of that industry information. A lot of associations, I just keep using this example, Physical Therapy Therapist Association of America or whatever. Their website might have some really great industry specific information. So if you're trying to find how many like moms age 30 to 40 in zip code 37404 there are, you could use census.gov is a very simple free online. You can look up there. At the SBDC, we do have access to some market research that's no cost to our clients, where we can submit a request. We have a partnership with University of Texas in San Antonio, and they have access to some subscription-based market research tools. They can pull some of that data for you as well. But census.gov isn't bad. It just depends on exactly what kind of demographic information you're looking for. Also, city-data.com has a lot of kind of geographical data information like that too.
Great, thank you. And we do have another question that we already, and if anyone else has questions, you can drop that in the Q&A or in the chat, and we can look at those. So this next question is there a way to find out other businesses that might be in the pipeline that are not online yet, but is there a repository of info on maybe developing or upcoming businesses, either through city, county, or state resources?
The only thing I think you could do is probably look through business licenses, but that's really only going to tell you their name. So unfortunately, not that I'm aware of.
Okay, thank you. And we did have a follow-up to the other question, which is, does the Small Business Development Center have access to GIS software?
Yeah, so that's part of the research that we can request. It includes basic customer demographic information, GIS, mapping and software information, psychographic data, lots of really cool. So we actually can do a ring study, or our partner can do a ring study. So they could show, if you're trying to look at your competition, they'll present information, everything within 1 mile, 5 mile, 10 miles of your zip code. And also including customer information. And it's actually, the stuff that they return is incredible, fascinating information. And I might have that on file somewhere already for another client if the zip codes match up, because it's all based, the GIS is usually based on zip code. So if that person wants to reach out to me directly, I'd be happy to help them further.
Thank you.
Yeah.
If anyone has any questions, any additional ones, go ahead and drop those in the chat. We'll take just a few seconds here. Okay, not seeing any additional questions, and we will take about a 5-minute break before our next speaker for our next presentation. And Sarah, thank you so much for joining us today for the Young Professionals Summit. We're very happy to have your knowledge and expertise.
Of course. Thank you for having me.